I'll now discuss the third theory that I came across in my search to try to make sense out of this New Age, all religions are one belief. I'm calling this one the paradox theory, and this theory has it that our higher power made different religions differently to confuse us on purpose, because those of us bewildered by conflicting religious doctrines will reap the benefits of having expanded spiritual perceptions. All right, so I'm going to read an excerpt here from the New Age author Michael Strange. He discusses this paradox theory in his book called Common Spirit, Common Ground, a loving comparison of world religions. And this is from the chapter called Many Colors, One Light. All right, so Michael Strange writes, religious literature uses paradox, seemingly contradictory language. Paradox is a tool used to stimulate direct perception of what is beyond the finite world of phenomena. Using finite terminology to describe infinity is inherently problematic. There is no box large enough to contain it, and the human intellect is like a box, limited in dimension by its own concepts. The spiritual effect of blending paradox, of finding union in opposites, expands our linear thinking. By blending two seemingly different perspectives, a greater concept of the whole emerges. Now, some New Agers argue that support for this purposeful confusion theory can also be found in Hinduism. This is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 53. When thy intellect, perplexed by what thou hast heard, shall stand immovable and steady in the self, then thou shalt attain self-realization. Now, one immediate problem with this paradox theory is that it paints God as a disastrous planner. Now, maybe there really have been some people whose religious confusion has led to their expansion of linear thinking and has brought them what they feel is spiritual enlightenment. However, when we look at how conflict between religious doctrines has affected mankind historically, we can see it's led to thousands of years of misery and bloodshed. Misery and bloodshed that continues to this very day. So because this paradox approach holds to the premise that there is an intelligent creator of the universe who cares about humanity in some way, it just makes little sense to believe that such a deity who could so successfully calculate the different respiratory needs of gills versus lungs would have so badly calculated or miscalculated the effects of inspiring consecrated contradictions. So this argument has a similar flaw to it that the corrupted message theory has. It says that there's a creator brilliant enough and powerful enough to do these mind-bogglingly complex things, but totally blows it when it comes to the more simple matters of paperwork. All right, fourth New Age theory that I'm going to explore holds that God didn't set out to inspire any specific text, but that holy truths just emanate. Humans throughout the world tune into these emanations in diverse ways. And this explains why different religions have both similarities and dissimilarities. So the theologian John Hick explains or defends this theory in his book Disputed Questions in Theology and the Philosophy of Religion. I'm going to read an excerpt here from that book in which Hick makes a distinction between what this higher power really is and what it appears to us to be. Also, I'll just note that Hick's word for God or the higher power is the real. So Hick writes, none of these world religions is the real, but each of them is the real as it affects a particular stream of religious consciousness. And because there are many consolidated historical forms of human mentality, reflecting the different ways of being human that have developed over the millennia, the history of religions shows a corresponding range of divine persona. So, Hick is saying there's one divine source. People just pick up on that source in different ways, depending on their particular culture. Now, unlike Ramakrishna, Hick does acknowledge that doctrines from one religion will sometimes utterly contradict another. And also, unlike Ramakrishna, Hick admits that he's a bit troubled by this. Just to give one example of such a contradiction, some cultures say idolatry is absolute must. Other cultures say idolatry is strictly forbidden. Idolaters should be killed even. Actually, that's my example, not Hick's. But anyway, Hick calls this problem conflicting truth claims. Now, but when we look at Hick's solution, it's really not that different from when Ramakrishna just brushes off the question and says, hey, if the jug of water in your hand tastes good, don't bother trying to measure all the water in the lake. Because what Hick does is categorize these conflicting truth claims as unanswerable questions. So Hick goes on to hypothesize that salvation, for all we know, might not depend on our ability to solve such problems. All right, here's another excerpt from Hick's book that is Disputed Questions in Theology and the Philosophy of Religion. And Hick writes, we do not, according to the Buddha, need to be able to penetrate these mysteries, or in other words, these unanswerable questions, in order to attain liberation. It could be that the universe, like a modern spy operation, is conducted on a need-to-know basis, and that unanswerable questions, specifically these conflicting truth claims between organized religions, these will not affect the all-important matter of salvation/liberation. So, again, this philosophy is telling us one divine source that all religions are drawing from, but because there's different streams of religious consciousness, this one divine source is interpreted by one religion to tell its followers to practice polytheism, another religion to tell its followers to kill polytheists. And okay, maybe we can't make sense of that, but still, that inability of ours to make sense of this just might not affect what Hick is saying, this all-important matter of salvation/liberation. All right, but here's what I see as the contradiction. Hick is still saying that God is concerned enough about us to offer salvation, but he's also saying, even if indirectly, that God is not concerned, or at least not concerned enough to prepare any type of authorized version of his word, even though there's lots of religious confusion, lots of horrifying bloodshed over the innocent when people fight over whose religion is right, whose is wrong, whose interpretation of which religion is right, whose interpretation is wrong. Regardless of that, this deity just continues to emanate truths in a way that continue to perpetuate violence. Or at least violence is one of the results of these emanations. All right, I came across one last way in which New Agers try to justify their all religions are one philosophy. I'll get to that in my last video in this series, part 6.